He was the velvet voice behind some of R&B's most unforgettable classics. But when Walter Scott of the Whispers passed away at 81, fans across the globe mourned more than just a singer. They lost a soul who had quietly shaped the sound of an era. From timeless hits like Rocksteady to And the Beat Goes On, his voice echoed through weddings, roller rinks, and late-night love dedications for decades. Yet, it turns out, the man who kept his personal life so guarded was hiding something truly astonishing. In the final days of his life, Walter Scott wasn't thinking about awards or sold-out shows. He was writing letters, planning trusts, recording messages. He wasn't preparing for applause. He was preparing for his family. And when he passed, what was discovered shocked even those closest to him. Not just a massive hidden fortune, but a love story built on protection, privacy, and purpose. From Watts to worldwide, the humble rise of Walter Scott. Before he ever stepped on a stage, Walter Scott was just a young man growing up in Watts, Los Angeles, during a time when music wasn't just entertainment. It was survival, expression, and revolution. Born in the early 1940s, he came of age in a community that was bursting with culture and change. Jazz, Motown, and soul surrounded him like oxygen. And with his twin brother Wallace, Scotty Scott, by his side, Walter began to understand that music wasn't just his talent, it was his calling. In the 1960s, as America faced social upheaval, the brothers joined forces with a few close friends and created a group that would later become the Whispers. Their early beginnings weren't glamorous, no record deals, no fame, just performances at local talent shows and community events. But what they had couldn't be taught. Chemistry, harmony, and Walter's soothing baritone voice that grounded every song. It didn't take long for industry insiders to notice. By the 1970s, the Whispers had signed with Soul Clock Records, then later Solar Records, and the hits started rolling in. But unlike many R&B groups who chased trends, the Whispers focused on consistency, synchronized suits, clean choreography, and vocals that never missed. Walter wasn't the most outspoken, but he didn't have to be. His calm charisma and timeless tone made him the silent powerhouse of the group. A voice for the stage, a wall for his family. While fans knew Walter as the heart of the Whispers, those closest to him saw something else entirely. A deeply private, purpose-driven man who kept his personal world under lock and key. In the world of entertainment, where egos often balloon and scandals go viral overnight, Walter Scott stood apart. He wasn't interested in flashing his wealth, trending on headlines, or spilling secrets in interviews. His mission? Protect his family, even from the fame he helped build. While his brother Scotty often took the lead during interviews and public appearances, Walter stayed in the background. Not because he lacked anything to say, but because he understood the value of silence. Fame never touched his core values. Behind every sold-out concert and record deal, Walter was still the man who believed in discipline, structure, and legacy. He and his wife were married for decades, and in that entire time, not a single scandal ever touched their name. No tabloid drama, no messy rumors, just quiet strength and unshakable partnership. Friends described their relationship as peaceful power. They didn't need the world to see it. They felt it. But what Walter was doing behind closed doors would only come to light after his passing. While still alive, he organized everything, from legal documents to emotional letters, from property deeds to instructions for the future. And he did it all without telling anyone, not even his wife. Because to him, love wasn't loud. It was preparation. And when the day finally came, she discovered it all. Her breakdown and the letters that broke the silence. Just days after Walter's passing, his wife released a statement that shook everyone who read it. Through tears, she shared, "Walter didn't just leave us music. He left us peace." And when she began opening drawers and going through folders, she found what she never expected. Handwritten letters, some hidden, some carefully labeled, placed all around the house. Each one crafted with intention. These weren't just goodbye notes. They were guides. Letters for when she would feel alone. Notes to help her navigate legal matters. Words of encouragement for the moments when grief would be overwhelming. Each letter was specific, emotionally grounded, and shockingly prepared. He had written them for different stages of her healing journey. Some offered comfort, others offered clarity, and some revealed plans she had never even known he made. But the most powerful part wasn't just the letters. It was the emotional realization that Walter had spent his final years preparing her for a goodbye, all without alarming her. He didn't want her to worry. He didn't want her to know what was coming. He wanted her to be loved, protected, and equipped to face the world without him. The hidden fortune. No one saw coming for decades, Walter Scott was known for his smooth harmonies, not flashy lifestyles or front-page headlines. So when his wife began uncovering a hidden fortune tucked behind the curtain of his quiet life, even close family members were stunned. This wasn't just a little rainy day fund or savings from touring. Walter had carefully built a financial legacy, one that included real estate, investment accounts, publishing rights, and royalty stakes most artists only dream of. In an industry infamous for poor contracts and financial exploitation, Walter had played the long game and won. Insiders later discovered that he held partial ownership in several of the Whisper's biggest songs, including Rock Steady and The Beat Goes On. These weren't just classics. They were revenue engines used in films, sampled by rappers, and streamed millions of times. Every stream, every sync, every sample. That was money coming in. Money Walter had positioned to stay within the family. But that wasn't all. Property records showed he had acquired real estate in Los Angeles and San Bernardino County during the late 80s and early 90s. Debt-free homes, now worth millions thanks to modern gentrification. These weren't flashy mansions. They were smart, strategic buys, tucked away from celebrity maps, but sitting on gold mine locations. And still, Walter never spoke about it. No interviews, no press releases, just intentional moves made in silence. Even his wife had no idea of the full scope. Until after his passing, when documents, keys, and letters began surfacing, revealing a man who had spent years preparing not just for death, but for their future. Financial genius in a flashy industry. In the entertainment world, the money often comes fast and disappears even faster. But Walter Scott had a different philosophy. While others chased luxury cars and tour life excess, he chose discipline, ownership, and long-term planning. The kind of strategy most artists only learn after it's too late. According to sources close to the family, Walter had worked with trusted attorneys and financial advisors for years, not to flaunt wealth, but to preserve it. His royalty contracts were airtight, his publishing rights secured. He made sure that the songs he helped create continued to pay out, not to labels, but to his family. One former Solar Records associate even revealed anonymously that Walter had spent years negotiating behind the scenes, ensuring that the Whisper's music wouldn't be locked down forever by record executives. He may not have owned everything outright, but what he did own was enough to keep residuals flowing consistently. And here's what really stands out. Walter didn't just focus on music, he diversified investment accounts, quiet business ventures, and personal trusts, all of it designed with sustainability in mind. He didn't spend for today. He prepared for tomorrows he wouldn't even see. But it wasn't just financial savvy. It was foresight. He knew the industry could be volatile. He knew the fame would fade, and instead of ignoring that reality, he confronted it head-on. He created a plan that was bulletproof, quiet, and deeply intentional. And now, his approach is being studied. Music professionals are calling it a case study in artist legacy. Industry panels are referencing his playbook in conversations about financial literacy. Up-and-coming musicians are starting to ask, "Am I protecting my future the way Walter did?" Walter Scott didn't need financial advisors screaming on YouTube. He didn't post his net worth. He let his decisions speak. And now, even in silence, he's teaching a new generation of artists how to own more than their voice. A blueprint for his family's future. Beyond the millions in royalties and real estate, Walter left behind something even more valuable. A blueprint for how to live after him. It wasn't just a will or a few instructions. It was a multi-tiered trust system designed to protect, nurture, and empower every generation of his family. According to his widow, Walter had spent years creating an airtight financial plan. There were education funds for the grandchildren, emergency grants in case any family member hit hard times, automatic annual disbursements tied to real-life milestones like college graduations, marriage, or launching a business. He didn't just leave them money, he left them structure. His trust wasn't about control. It was about freedom with direction. A way for his family to benefit from his success without being overwhelmed by it. And just when you think it couldn't get more selfless, it did. Walter had also allocated a portion of his estate to be donated directly to music education programs in Watts, the same community where his dreams had first begun. He wanted other kids from his neighborhood to have access to what he had. A chance to believe, to create, to sing their way out of silence. This wasn't a PR move. It wasn't for a tax write-off. It was personal. As the legal documents were reviewed and the trust plans came to light, people close to him realized something profound. Walter hadn't just been preparing for death. He had been designing legacy, quietly, methodically, with love. The secret tapes. Walter's final messages. As if the handwritten letters and meticulous financial planning weren't emotional enough, what Walter Scott's family discovered next left them speechless. A collection of private voice recordings, stored and never meant for public release. These weren't demos or rehearsal tapes. These were deeply personal messages, recorded specifically for his loved ones. A kind of emotional time capsule. Each message was heartfelt, intentional, and meant to be heard only after he was gone. In them, Walter explained his decisions, expressed his hopes, and even told stories from his life that he'd never shared before. Things he thought might help guide his family through the hard days ahead. In one recording, according to his widow, he said, "I didn't want you to worry. I just wanted you to be ready." That simple line captures everything Walter stood for. Quiet leadership, selfless planning, and deep, unshakable love. For his children and grandchildren, these messages became more than just recordings. They became living memories, a way to hear his voice again, to feel like he was still in the room during the moments that mattered most. Weddings, birthdays, graduations. When the tears came, so did the strength. From a father who had already thought of everything. Few artists leave behind a legacy like this. Most are remembered for awards, magazine covers, or social media impact. But Walter, He's remembered for his depth, his foresight, and his willingness to confront the one thing most people ignore: how to care for those you love when you're no longer here to do it. A spike in streams and a surge in memory. When the news of Walter Scott's passing broke, fans from around the world reacted instantly, not just with sadness, but with celebration. Celebration of a voice that defined their childhood, their love stories, their memories. And it wasn't just heartfelt tweets or nostalgic throwback posts. It was a full-blown streaming revival. In the week following his death, the Whispers catalog experienced a 230% spike in streaming, especially iconic tracks like "And the Beat Goes On" and "Rock Steady." People weren't just reminiscing, they were rediscovering. Younger generations found his music through TikTok tributes, Spotify playlists, and YouTube reaction videos. Walter's voice was everywhere again, on radios, in family living rooms, and trending across R&B playlists. Social media exploded with stories. "My mom played this song every Saturday while cleaning," wrote one fan. "This voice shaped my childhood," posted another. These weren't just casual listeners. These were people who had grown up with Walter as a background narrator to their lives. And it wasn't just the fans. Fellow musicians, from veteran soul singers to new-age R&B stars, came forward to honor Walter. Artists like Anderson, .Pac, Ty Dolla $ign, and BJ the Chicago Kid publicly acknowledged how the Whispers, and Walter specifically, had influenced their artistry. Some even admitted that their entire vocal styling could be traced back to those early harmonies and that signature velvet tone. Tributes, scholarships, and the spotlight he never wanted. It's one of life's strange ironies. The man who avoided the spotlight for decades is now its brightest focus. In the months following Walter Scott's passing, tribute after tribute began forming in his honor. Many of them more public than he might have preferred, but all of them deeply deserved. BT announced a special Legends of Soul segment, placing Walter and the Whispers alongside the likes of Marvin Gaye and Teddy Pendergrass. Community colleges across California began organizing a scholarship fund in Walter's name, aimed at helping young black musicians gain access to professional training. These weren't just posthumous honors. They were evidence of his impact, not just musically, but socially. And there's more. Streaming platforms like Netflix and Hulu are reportedly in early talks to develop a limited documentary series centered around the Whispers' legacy, with Walter as the emotional anchor of the story. Interviews, archival footage, and family interviews are already being discussed. But here's what makes all this more powerful. Walter didn't need any of it to feel accomplished. He lived his legacy quietly, through his music, his planning, and his family. These tributes aren't rewriting his story. They're just finally telling the parts he never boasted about. His wife, reflecting on the wave of attention, said it best. Walter never asked for awards. He asked for peace. But now that the world is listening, I'm glad they're seeing the full man. More than music. Walter's last lesson to the industry. In the days, weeks, and months after Walter Scott's passing, something began to shift, not just in how he was remembered, but in how the music industry viewed legacy itself. Walter's life, carefully organized and privately preserved, became more than a tribute. It became a case study. Panels at music conferences started discussing his financial planning. Artist managers pointed to Walter as an example of what long-term strategy looks like. It wasn't about chasing every trend or going viral. It was about owning your voice, literally and legally. His ability to retain partial ownership of the Whispers' most iconic songs, protect real estate assets, and fund generational trusts turned into a blueprint for the next wave of musicians. Why? Because Walter didn't just live for the stage. He lived for what came after it. And in an era where artists are often caught in bad contracts and short-lived fame, his legacy said something different. Plan quietly. Win loudly. Mental health advocates pointed to Walter's emotional intelligence, how he supported his wife with letters and recordings, creating space for grief and healing. Legal experts praised the clarity of his estate plan. And financial advisors? They were stunned. Few artists leave behind such clean, complete, and forward-thinking legacies. Let's celebrate this quiet legend in the comments. Share your stories, your favorite songs, and how his voice shaped your world. And if you found this story powerful, hit that like button, share this with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more deep dives into the lives of legends who left more than just music behind.